Mike Brennan, and we're doing a special MI Tech TV with a longtime friend. I never call friends old anymore because it gets me in trouble. Uh, it's Keith Brophy. I met Keith a long time ago back in Grand Rapids, and he's a repeat offender. He keeps going back into entrepreneurship rather than retiring and taking his money and relaxing and doing all of his runs. What can I say? That's Keith. So anyway, the company is called Mentavi, and it's an online medical health diagnostic and treatment. Is it software, right?
We have a digital journey with software, but we have psychologists who help us diagnose and physicians that are specialists in mental health that provide our treatment path.
Okay. Now, one of the things that Keith's been doing, and I couldn't even tell you how long he's been doing it, probably a quarter century at least, is every spring he would have his outlook for the year. So that's what I wanted. He contacted me a few weeks back and said he had a new outlook and wanted to share it with the my audience. And I said, "Yeah, sounds great. Let's do it." So, what is the outlook for 2025? And let's be real specific. What industries, what you see happening, that sorts of thing. Go ahead, take it away, Keith.
Sure, I'll share a couple of the specific trends, but in general, the outlook is dramatic and in some cases traumatic change driven by AI. There's a lot of information swirling around about AI, but there's also evidence that is changing the way that we live, changing the way that businesses do business. And Mike is a longtime follower and observer of tech trends. You'll probably recall that over the years we've talked about this factor called Moore's law, and that's uh, this theory that the power of computing, primarily through chips, each year gets stronger, faster, cheaper, and
Smaller, smaller.
smaller.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. And more power efficient. And behind that has been this great technology arc of the internet, of digital phones, of so much change. And that's held true for decades. Well, that arc of change with the advent of recent AI has gone almost straight up. As some thought leaders put it, about 2 years ago, we passed the tipping point where the ability of humans and businesses to understand, let alone assimilate what's possible with AI is past us. There's so much happening at such a breakneck pace. So that factor we see spread across a lot of industries in terms of the change ahead, and many of the predictions from this year's tech trends, where we look at 10 predictions, centered around that and that kind of change. Most specifically, in the event was for West Michigan tech talent. West Michigan Works, so a lot of focus on workforce development. One of the lead trends was the prediction that your job description has expired, and that's grounded in the perspective that as AI shapes and reshapes job roles, it's going to come faster than anybody predicted. Tasks are going to blur, titles will shift, yesterday's skill sets fade overnight, and the winning companies are the ones that adapt in real time, reinventing roles to match new capabilities. It's going to happen so fast that the prediction is regulatory governance will try to slow the pace of change, but only makes it harder for slow movers to keep up. And traditional HR approaches implode and fail because they can't adapt rapidly enough and are disintermediated by new HR approaches through this changing cast of roles. So a lot there in that trend, but really just reflects the reinvention of how businesses approach things and how people approach things. It's interesting in terms of what's behind that slightly bold prediction, and there's many facts that support it. But one subjective opinion recently shared by Bill Gates was he claimed not too long ago that there may be no doctors or teachers as we know them in 10 years. There's a lot of wild speculators out there among tech titans, but Bill Gates is usually pretty grounded in the way he looks at change. So for him to make that statement, doctors or teachers as we know them may not be there in 10 years. Uh, and that's because of reasons like that. 83% of all major companies are looking at redesigning job roles due to AI. That's according to a PwC survey from last year. But you can understand why when you think about the fact that AI can now write basic code, it can design marketing materials, perform legal research, plan projects. It can create whole new inventions if you queue it up with the right cues. Accelerating this is the advent of humanoid robots. That's another one we've talked a lot over the years at Tech Trends. The age has come where it looks like there'll be early adoption in 2027, 2028. A number of companies have humanoid robot shells, if you will. Other technology companies from NVIDIA to Google have robotic AI frameworks in a sense to give you a robot smarts and even personality that can be molded. And by 2027, 2028, we'll start to see those roll out in the workforce. It's projected by 2030, business targeted robots costing 20 to 30K will start to be in fairly common use in a number of industries, and that the insurance industry is going to quite quickly evolve to the point where it can support them, liability laws, and most of all, social acceptance to see this as a normalized interaction rather than the novelty that it is today. All of this means that in just about any business, it's especially important to look ahead 2, 3, 4 years down the road because it can impact hiring, capital planning, strategic vision today.
It almost sounds a little bit like that movie I, Robot. You know, everybody had a personal robot, and of course, in the end, they all went nuts. But that seems. And the other issue, when Chat GPT came out, there was a lot of jokes about the Terminator movie, and people were worried about that. Or that would be a good question, I guess. Is AI going to be smarter than us, and then why do they need us, right? Yep.
It's a it's a valid question. And we covered that in depth at Tech Trends, and this is one that is quite an interesting one that relates to humanness meets technology, our social circles, what it means to be human in the face of this kind of technology change, and even a sense of community. This prediction was called "Hearts over Smarts." Smarts become no big deal. And the prediction is that as AI owns tasks that we traditionally associate with human intelligence, like pattern matching, uh, recall, wickedly smart memory, analysis, strategic thinking, all of those things are things that AI can do better than humans already. And so the aspect of being the smartest guy in the room is becomes similar to what happened to a brawny caveman in the industrial age. Being a brawny caveman helped you a lot when you were dodging dinosaurs and battling other brawny cavemen with your clubs, but wasn't so relevant in an industrial society. Then it started to be the smartest guy in the room was more important than the brawniest caveman in the room. Well, so too in the AI era we're entering, being the smartest guy in the room is not so relevant. Nobody really needs that so much anymore. Rather, what's going to start to be important in the aspects of human to human connection will be authenticity, empathy, curiosity, discernment, relatability. Those are going to be far, far more important for success in the world than conventional IQ. EQ will become the sought after commodity in the workplace. And, for the humans in the workplace, it's going to be hiring for soft skills and EQ, for the successful companies rather than looking for that smartest guy in the room. That change is predicted to come relatively quickly. There's already been scary research that on a couple of fronts that shows that when deeply exposed to generative AI as your constant companion, cognitive function declines. It's already been measured in just the short spans we've had to measure it. So you can imagine for somebody that grows up with Chat GPT or the many other forms of generative AI beside them, constantly talking to it all day, every day, making every choice, giving them every guidance over the course of a lifetime. It is a serious prediction in a likely outcome that collective cognitive intelligence will decline because of AI. And but likewise, as humans, the raw IQ, that photographic memory, that lightning sharp, connecting of the dots for strategy is just not going to be as valuable as being able to have trust and connection and authenticity. So pretty wild prediction, but one that I personally believe in, and one that many companies are, starting to build plans around as well. One one of the other trends that I think is quite an amazing one to think about is one that in the tech trends this year I called the doctor will be you now, advancing from the doctor will see you now to the doctor will be you now. And this is the prediction that the old model of waiting for symptoms to pop up and then getting after the fact, treatment on your symptoms is going to be fairly quickly replaced by constant AI assisted tracking. Teeny in body sensors inside of us will detect health shifts before they become problems, at least before they become big problems, and give us ongoing guidance. Kind of a wild concept in a way, because who wants tiny sensors in them? Well, a lot of us will, because the outcomes will be so significant, it'll be too hard to ignore the advantage. So in developed nations, we're likely to see a lot of people to opt in to these ongoing sensors coupled with AI guides about your health, favoring in-body prevention over privacy. And a good personal example of that is one of the a wearable ring. It's a state of the art, latest version ring. It measures respiration, heart rate variability, body temperature, other functions, and it comes with an app, and it presents to me status based on this measuring. I don't have to interact with it much, but it's predictive. And the app told me you're you show signs of being sick, get more sleep the next day or two, boost up your immune system as best you can, and you can minimize the impact of being sick. So I knew I was sick before I was. This has happened 3 times with it in the many months I've used the ring. Each time I took preventative action. Each time, indeed, like 2 days later, 3 days later after it called me out, I had a minor sneeze or cough or minor signs of a sickness that came and went in a half day. That heads up is helping to me to steer my daily health. Take that on Red Bolt, the possibilities. There's already very good glucose monitors, heart monitoring technology, et cetera, that can be implanted in body in many cases. But this technology is advancing again at breakneck speed. We're in an era where AI can create more AI that can improve design and product with more AI. So it doesn't require humans necessarily figuring out every next step anymore. And the doctor will be you now with predictive health monitoring inside of us is very likely near term reality.